Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
Yesterday, President Trump dropped a bomb on our so-called allies that's sending shockwaves through capitals across Europe. NATO, the alliance America has funded, protected, and bled for over 7 decades, just got put on notice. And folks, the president didn't mince words. He called them exactly what they are, a paper tiger. When America needed help against Iran, these European leaders turned their backs. Now Trump is telling them point blank, we're going to remember this. The question tonight, is this the beginning of the end for NATO as we know it? So let me tell you why this matters to you and your family. Every single year, American taxpayers pour hundreds of billions of dollars into defending Europe. Your tax dollars fund bases in Germany, protect shipping lanes for European trade, and keep the Russians, the Russian bear at bay while Europeans enjoy their 6-week vacations and free healthcare. And what do we get in return? When Iran launched missiles that traveled 2,500 miles and struck territory near our allies, when America asked for help, these so-called partners said no. They actually had the audacity to say Iran is not Europe's war. But hold on, they expect us to fund Ukraine's war indefinitely? Secretary Rubio laid it bare yesterday. America has contributed more to Ukraine than any nation on earth, a war on a different continent. Yet when we have a need, crickets. This isn't about geopolitics anymore. This is about whether American lives and American treasure will continue to be spent protecting nations that won't lift a finger for us. Trump sees it, and now he's acting on it. And speaking of fighting back against forces that drain our strength, let me share you something personal. For years, Gary's wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis. They went through endless doctor's visits, treatments that never worked, and Gary had to watch her struggle daily. It broke his heart. Then Jonathan Otto introduced them to red light therapy, and her pain vanished. Her anxiety lifted. She's sleeping soundly now, full of energy and life again. And Gary's own recovery and vitality was better than guys half his age, from what he said. This has been truly life-changing for their family. But here's what makes it legitimate. It's backed by NASA research, FDA cleared, and studies show rapid pain and relief and recovery. And when you're fighting to stay strong in a world that wants to wear you down, you need every single advantage you can get. And red light therapy gave the Franchi family theirs. Now back to the story, because what Trump said yesterday is going to change everything. So here's what the mainstream media won't tell you about yesterday's confrontation. Trump didn't just criticize NATO. He issued a direct warning that carries the weight of policy. He said, never forget. Those 2 words are loaded with meaning. And when you see what European leaders actually said about refusing to help America, when you see their arrogance on full display, you'll understand why Trump is drawing this line in the sand right now. Let's dig into it. So from Fox News, this is breaking. We're very disappointed with NATO because they have done absolutely nothing. And President Trump said, I said 25 years ago that NATO was a paper tiger. But more importantly, it will come to their rescue. Let's see.
One thing, we're very disappointed. I'll say it publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said 25 years ago, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue. Now they all want to help. When they're annihilated, the other side is annihilated, they said, we'd love to send ships. They actually made a statement, a couple of them, that we want to get involved when the war's over. No, it's supposed to get involved when the war's beginning, or even before it begins.
You know, every time Europe has an issue, every time Russia comes out with a new missile, they're begging America to come up and put in new assets and move all these things around. And they saber rattle all over the place. And they know they can do that because the United States of America is behind them. And when we need their help securing the Straits of Hormuz so the global economy doesn't crash, temporarily, they said no. They refused to send troops. They refused to send ships. They refused to protect their own bases. Trump slammed NATO for its inaction, calling it a liability. Next, he zeroes in on NATO's failure in Ireland and the lingering disappointment. From Trump, one missile went 2,500 miles. They shot the now famous Ireland. The island. Good Lord.
One missile went 2,500 miles. They supposedly didn't have a missile like that. They had no missile with that capability. But they shot the now famous Ireland, the island that the UK was very afraid to give us because they didn't want to get dragged in. But we don't want to get dragged into their wars either. It's one thing, we're very disappointed. I'll say it publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO. because NATO has done absolutely nothing.
You know, that's like hearing your parents saying you're disappointed of you. He's like, yeah, we're trying to do the best for everybody. We're just disappointed in how you guys are operating. I could imagine some of the back room that they're screaming and yelling how these phone conversations are going. And they need to, they need to do it. They need to help. I mean, that's why we're there. We could do it on our own, but it's easier to just have extra people there. Have extra boats to make sure that the rockets don't hit the freight liners going through it. After Trump's biting critique, Secretary Rubio underscores the imbalance further, pointing out America's outsized role in Ukraine. From the Department of State, Secretary Rubio, the U.S. is constantly asked to help in wars, and we have. But when we have a need, it didn't get positive responses from NATO. A couple leaders said that Iran was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not our war either. We'll see what Secretary Rubio has to say.
The United States is constantly being asked to help in a war, and we have more than any other country in the world, on a war that's happening in another continent, in Ukraine. But when the U.S. had a need, he didn't get positive responses. So right now he's just making the observation that, I think there was a couple of leaders in Europe who said that this was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not America's war, and yet we've contributed more to that fight than any other country in the world. So it'll be something to examine. The president will have to take into account down the road.
And you know what? World War I and World War II wasn't our fight either, but we came in and we cleaned up the mess that Europe made. And I think their memories are very, very short. And as Secretary Rubio highlights the imbalance, the president warns NATO that their future support is under scrutiny. This was a test for NATO. If you don't help us, we're going to remember.
Because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But if you don't have, if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember. Remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements. They have an expression, a great expression. Never forget. You can never forget.
Never forget. And that's what we said after 9/11. We will never forget. But New York City has forgotten, and our allies have forgotten as well. So what we witnessed yesterday was historic. President Trump is fundamentally redefining what alliance means. No more blank checks, no more one-way streets where America gives everything and receives nothing. The establishment globalists are panicking because they know their gravy train is over. For decades, the deep state and the foreign policy elite told us we had to carry Europe on our backs forever. Trump is saying no more. This was a test, he declared. And Europe failed it. And when adversaries like Iran, Russia, and China see this division, they should understand something. America is no longer going to be weakened by freeloading allies. We're getting stronger by demanding respect, and Trump is putting America first, and the old world order is crumbling. So, Patriots, what you saw yesterday was a president who finally had the courage to say what Americans have been thinking for decades. Why are we defending countries that will not defend us? Why are we spending our treasure, our blood, and our souls on nations that lecture us while hiding behind our military might? Share this video right now because every American needs to understand that Trump is fighting for a fair deal. And the establishment, they're terrified. Drop a comment below. Should the U.S. cut funding to NATO allies who refuse to support us? Yes or no? And don't forget to text raw feed to 844-840-4963. If you guys want to show the world where you stand with America first, check out the Next News merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Gear up, speak out, and let them know where you stand. Make sure you guys are subscribed and that notification bell is on because this NATO story is just beginning. And we'll have every update as it breaks. I'm Tom McCullough. Stay informed, stay free, and God bless.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.